All right, gang, we are going to go ahead and get into this little lesson here. This is going to be on decision fatigue, okay? And by the way, this is also going to be in the advanced trading course too. So, if you're watching this anywhere else, welcome. You get a little sample of all the things I got to teach you guys about trading here so you can hopefully be more profitable in this market, okay? Um, so, let's talk about decision fatigue. So before we kind of get into this, I just, obviously want you guys to do me a favor, hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff, comment below if you can. Let me know how you feel about this video. If you like it, I'll start making some more, going into more details of trading, and all that good stuff. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So with decision fatigue guide, this is one of the hidden psychological hurdles that many day traders face without even realizing it. That's why this is important for you to not only, be able to recognize, but also be able to overcome this, especially as a new trader, but more so as an advanced trader too. If you're, if you've been in the market for, a couple months, couple years, et cetera, you've probably been experiencing this and not even realizing it. And so we're going to take like a deep dive lesson into this, and I'm going to kind of break this down for you guys so that you can kind of understand it and, be able to benefit from it, okay? So, no problem. All right, so with today's, objectives for decision fatigue, what we're going to review here, of course, is what it is. We're going to talk about where it comes from and when you experience it. We're going to talk about the effects and effects of decision fatigue, how it, impacts you in the market. We're going to talk about how to avoid it as much as possible. We're going to talk about how to overcome it when you are faced with it. And also, I'm going to walk you guys through a little example of how that is going to commonly come up for you, within, you know, utilizing decisions throughout the day as a trader. And then for those of you that are, watching this through the course, we're going to go through like a little bit of a walkthrough and stuff like that, more so as we get into it. Okay. All right, so let's kind of just go ahead and jump into it. With decision fatigue, of course, as we kind of go through like, our day-to-day basis, making choices, you guys got to understand, especially as traders, but just then as a person in general, you're going to be depleting your mental energy when it comes to this, and the results of decision fatigue is what typically is going to set in. Um, and of course, with decision fatigue, that's going to, lower the quality of being able to make, subsequent decisions after that, and it just deteriorates and it becomes like a slippery slope. So just knowing about this is going to probably help improve the way you approach the market drastically if you haven't, done it or realized it already. All right. So basically, what is decision fatigue, guys? Decision fatigue is basically just the difficulty of making a good decision experienced as a result of a number of decisions that one needs to take. So you know, basically, it's kind of getting tired. Fatigue is getting tired of having to do anything, of course, right? Whether you're an athlete, you get fatigue from working out. You have mental fatigue from just doing research and things like that. You even have decision fatigue just from, making choices because you have to do so many throughout the day. And the same thing happens when you're in the market, day in and day out. For some more than others, and we'll break that down here in a second. All right, so basically, where does decision fatigue come from, guys? Especially, in the market. The underlying cause of decision fatigue typically has to do with like a person's stress level and the number of decisions they have to make, each day. Pretty much the weight of these decisions, they also matter because most people have to make a large number of decisions throughout each single day. From the moment you wake up to, you got to start making them from the moment you wake up until you go back to sleep. Sometimes in your dreams you have to make decisions, but simple examples will be like things like what clothes you're going to wear, what you're going to have for breakfast, what you're going to listen to on the radio on the way to like to work, little things like that. But then you also have like business decisions, you have social interaction decisions, you have leisure time decisions, what you're going to do in your downtime. That's one of the things I have a lot of fatigue with. All of these decisions here have like their inherent weight on a person's mental capability to be able to do so effectively and consciously or even subconsciously. You may not even realize it. So the more complex decisions you have to make, the more it's going to deplete your energy levels to be able to do that faster. And of course, as the day goes on, a person has to make more and more decisions, and their ability to choose wisely will typically decrease because you're getting tired. Okay. Um, so what are some of the things that it may come from? Number one, of course, it will be having too many options. If you have a whole bunch of different options, it's going to be hard to make a decision. Which is just common sense there. So and you'll see like a lot of businesses and corporations and things like that, and even like when it comes to marketing, or even when you're at like grocery stores, to treat the placement of products and stuff like that, they try to eliminate as many options as you can, so that's easier for you to make a decision when it comes to certain that things that they're looking at. So having too many options can definitely be a downfall. Um, and cause a lot of decision fatigue. So another thing, of course, is fear. Fear from just being wrong, or taking a loss, may make a decision harder, and make it much harder for you to take action on it. Um, People that typically have anxiety, usually have that issue as well too. And the fear could come from, the past of making a decision maybe that might be similar to it, and it being the wrong decision, and not the, or maybe even not the desired outcome you were expecting, and that's going to create future fatigue for other decisions, because it's just that fear. And as traders, making a decision is something you do every single day, and making that decision is going to be life and death of you being able to survive in this market. Another place it might come from, of course, too, is not knowing. Of course, kind of along the lines of fear. The fear of unknown is, something that, people tend to have when it comes to, making their decisions, and it causes a lot of fatigue. And of course, just not knowing and, using too much leverage, of course, is, a lot of fear for people who like, are short traders. They definitely have, that little fear there as well, too. So not knowing what's going to happen is, definitely a decision fatigue for a lot of people there. And the last thing, of course, is inexperience. I don't know why I spaced out, but it's supposed to be inexperience. But and that just comes from lack of time in the market as a trader. Typically, as you guys are, who are advanced traders, been in the market for a long time, some things kind of tend to repeat themselves. That's just human nature. Of course, human nature reflects the psychology of the market, et cetera, et cetera. So when you've been in it for a while, the experience in the market and the decision fatigue you'll get from it will begin to weigh down a little bit less on you. Of course, that's why time in the market is very important. Not necessarily so much as being right, but you got to actually go through it and put in that screen time so you can get familiar with the way things work in the market. So inexperience is one of the things that might cause decision fatigue to come and impact you as a trader. All right. Now let's talk about the effects of decision fatigue. We're going to talk about the effects and effects of it. So basically, impaired ability to make trade-offs is going to be one of the most important things that happens with the effects of it. So the impaired ability to make trade-offs, is a feature that gives you like several choices where you have positive and negative elements into it. They're particularly going to be time-consuming, forms of decision making, and this is where you're faced with too many trade-offs to consider. We typically will end up mentally depleted when we make those poor choices as well too. So having that ability to make the trade-off of one thing for another is going to be one of the biggest effects of decision fatigue, and making that poor choice. So you want to try to eliminate that for that particular reason, because you don't want to obviously make too many wrong choices in the market, because that's just going to wipe your account away. The second effect of it, of course, is going to be impulse purchases, or just impulse trading. Like I was saying earlier, like of course when you're shopping, decisions regarding prices and promotions, and that can typically produce like a lot of decision fatigue, depleting like your willpower to make like impulse decisions. And this is why like snacks are usually placed like in the very end of the checkout, to kind of get more shoppers to be able to typically want to essentially make that impulse decision and buy those things just out of habit and last minute decision on impacting their buying. So I learned that a long time in college. I was like, oh, that's pretty smart. So by the time you're done shopping for all your all your other stuff, now you're going through the checkout line, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I want to get this little Kit Kat here, and that's because you haven't made a decision that you don't need a Kit Kat. You got all these other stuff in your cart. But hey, that's what decision fatigue is. there for, and what it does, but it definitely affects your ability to make impulse decisions. Like obviously when you first came into the store, you didn't want a Kit Kat, but there you go, you know, made all these decisions, buying all this other stuff, and now you're about to leave. Your mental capacity is depleted, and now you want to go buy it. So that's one of the major effects. Now imagine taking that same, analogy and putting it into the market. You know, went through all these trades, weighed them out, did all your, due diligence, blah, blah, blah. Now here it is coming time for you to, make a trade. You're gonna make an impulse trade, and it's gonna be the wrong one because you didn't have time to think it through, because you were, making all these decisions throughout the day or even throughout the market, and now you're mentally depleted and you shouldn't have took that trade. So now it's also the opposite as well too, decision avoidance. And we've actually had some of you guys in the chat room talking about this today too. How, typically after like maybe a couple of streaks or something like that, or even a couple of losses, you're avoiding making that decision of making that trade. Common thing, guys, happens all the time. And that's going to stem from that fear of making, decisions before that you did, before. Because sometimes with our mental energy, it's depleted, we're going to completely avoid making the choice. Some of you will even procrastinate to the last minute, because you try to bypass like the emotional connection and mental capacity cost of, needing to make that decision, by just trying to select the default one, or, that's available. Especially in the market, there really isn't one, And just some of the physical impacts and effects of it, it can typically be a lot of different things. You can, when it comes to making too much decision fatigue or having too much decision fatigue, you can end up, with like headaches and migraines and little things like that. It could impact your health. More than you would think. It raises your stress levels, which of course lowers your immune system, and not many people are conscious of that. I know when I kind of first started out trading, I was kind of dealing with that a lot. I was like, why am I getting sick so much easier? It's because I was stressing in the market, trying to make all these decisions, just try to be profitable. And, it was like life or death situation. So it's really stressful on you. It can take a physical toll on you as well as mental. So kind of keep that in mind too. Your mind is very, very important. All right. So that's just kind of some of the things to kind of expect when it comes to decision fatigue, and why it's very important for you to understand this, as a trader. Now let's talk about some, things that you can do to help, try to avoid it. One, of course, is eating properly. I know this sounds dumb. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Until I like read some books about trading and stuff like that, and I would see other traders and people who wrote these books talk about how, they would change the way they ate, blah blah blah, things like that. I'm like, man, that's dumb. You're just clicking a few buttons and placing a trade. Why would you need to do that? The psychological toll it takes on being a day trader, guys, definitely in the mental capacity will have an effect on your physical health as well too. So eating properly is very important. And, not only should you eat properly, but you want to avoid different things that's going to make your decisions impaired. Like, you want to try to cut out like alcohol, other consumables that might affect your decision making, or gives you more fatigue, not only mentally but physically too, because you're gonna trade the way you feel. As a matter of fact, I can give you a little, story about one time, I was trading while I was drinking. I was drinking and trading. That's the dumbest thing to do. Trust me, take it from me. You do not want to do that. Oh, that was an expensive lesson. Anyways, I'm thinking to myself, and this was like not even like after like a hot streak, and you would think like, oh, you celebrating things like that. No, this is just like a normal day. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go have some drinks. Here I am in the middle of, the day. I mean, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? But the middle of the day, it was like their power hour, and then, setup was there, and then clearly, normally under normal circumstances, I would have took that trade, but the way the market was going, I was kind of feeling a little cocky, and I normally wouldn't take a trade like that, and I end up losing a lot of money. So it was just pretty dumb. But again, this is stemmed down because of what I'm, doing. I'm drinking something that's making my decisions be impaired. But also too, having the proper routine with like will help out as well too. But of course, eating good foods like fish and stuff like that, stuff that makes you have a little bit more energy, will definitely help. Coffee, if you're a coffee person, that's fine. Me personally, I'm not a coffee person. I can't remember the last time I'm like one of the few people in the world that I know that don't drink coffee, but just because it just affects my decision making, and it doesn't fit my routine. Maybe if I was like a scalp trader or something like that, but I'm not. So, but yeah, so I mean, you want to kind of get into the habit of understanding what you're eating and stuff like that, because that is going to affect you. That sounds dumb, but it does, guys. Trust me on this. Um, so yeah, get in the habit of fixing that. So yeah, one of the toughest things that I had to do as a trader. So I mean, to this day, I still sometimes do it, but not as much. Especially throughout the week, I try to get ready and be fit as I can. The next one, of course, like I said, have a routine. You got to have a routine of checklists that help you narrow down your choices. You guys that have the how to day trade, for beginners, have that whole checklist of what I actually go through to decide which stocks I'm going to trade. So I encourage you to do the same thing, and I showed you guys how to create your own as well too in that course. So hopefully you have a checklist as far as what you look for to help narrow down the choices. Because again, there's thousands of stocks in the market, thousands of things you can actually trade. So you want to help find out what you're good at and narrow down, that checklist of what you want to, do. And of course, like I said, the course that you have there does all that. If you don't know, you need to get in the habit of, trying to figure out what might be more interesting to you. Okay. A lot of you new traders, aren't going to know that right at the gate. But again, this isn't for new traders. This is for advanced traders. So you as an advanced trader should kind of already know a little bit of a segment of what you focus on, and you want to help narrow down that even more, as precise as you can get. Okay. The next thing, of course, is reducing your number of daily decisions. Now, this sounds dumb too, but it's not. I promise you. So when I say reduce your number of daily decisions, not just in the market, but also outside of the market. Like when I come into the market, I probably would have made one or two decisions at the most, if that. Like, for example, I had the same cup of orange juice ready for when I go into the market. I have, I wake up, do the routine to brush my teeth. I might work out, something like that. I keep it simple to where I don't need to figure out what I need to do next. I'm just going to do it. So making those decisions in advance is going to help keep my decision fatigue very low, because I already know what needs to be done until I get into the market. Everything is already done. And now you could be a person that's busy, or you could be someone who trades like after hours or something like that, and you don't have that ability to do that. Try to make your decisions as little as possible throughout the day. If you're one of the persons who doesn't start the morning trading, but you might start the evening trading or something like that, try to eliminate as much decisions as you can outside of trading that you possibly can. It's just going to help with your decision fatigue when it comes time for you to perform in the market. Okay. So kind of take note of that. Make decisions in advance. When I say make decisions in advance, guys, this kind of means like knowing your limits is going to help you make decisions in advance. Like if you know you're not going to be able to do this trade by this time, you're not going to have to decide whether or not you're going to do it. Risk management is going to be part of making your decisions in advance. You're going to already know where you want to be into the trade. You're going to know where you want to be out of the trade. So that right there is eliminating a lot of your decisions. I promise you, if you want to be one of those traders who, oh, I got in the stock at $3.50. I don't know where it's going to go. I'm just going to guess that it's going to go to here, and I'm going to guess that's go to there. That's going to weigh down your mental energy, and it's going to cause you to get in trades too early or get out of them too late, or vice versa. It's just going to throw it all off. So having that strategy set and plan and risk management in place is going to help make that decision in advance. Okay. Keep it simple, not just in the market, but also outside of the market. Same thing as reducing your number of daily decisions. Make life as easy as possible, guys. That's what's going to help you lower that decision fatigue. All things, not just, in the market, from what you're going to wear, from what you're going to eat, et cetera, et cetera. Keep those things as simple as possible so you're not having to think about too much. And that's why they say simple trading is usually the best trading. And you guys see, I hate it for you guys who might trade options, and we're going to get into that later on in this course, but that's a whole nother realm in itself. But yeah, so that's why I keep it simple. I just trade stocks. It's simple. I don't have much thinking to do. It's really easy. But yeah, that's pretty much how that goes. Next thing, of course, to how to help avoid it, of course, is taking breaks. This is why I explained that time frames in the market to you guys so that you understand where it might be key points of being able to want to trade. And taking breaks throughout the day is very, very important. I know some of you, I get it. You want to put in the screen time, but there is a thing where you can be putting in too much screen time to where it's not going to even be effective. Every person has a limit to what their capability is of being in the market. You can't be in it 24/7. Just not possible. But make sure you are taking breaks, guys. And I don't mean just by like, oh, taking a short break during a day trade. I mean, if you got to leave, if you even got to step away from the market, it was a time period, especially where I took like a year or two off. Like I got my account was blown up like 4 times, for the last like 2.5 or 3 years. I just took like a year or two off. I was like, you know what, maybe just trading isn't for me. But I kind of still was interested in it, still wanted to do it. But I realized taking that hiatus and that little bit of a break and getting back into the market, it made me see things so much clearer. I'm like, okay, I already know this, I already know that, I already know this, I see this, I see that, and it propelled me to be able to, be much more of a better trader by taking that year or two, year and a half off away from the market. When I say away from the market, I mean everything. I went back to just work. I was focusing just on work and, just life in general. And I just kept wanting to come back. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of miss trading. Let me go ahead and jump back into it and try to, work on it some more. And I was like, man, I'm much better than what I was before. And that's just because I took a break and, regrouped. Sometimes you got to do that as a trader. Don't be afraid to. Market isn't going anywhere. I promise you. And now, some of the common victims of decision fatigue, of course, it's all of us. But like I said earlier, it's some more than most. Okay? Now, pretty much kind of from top to bottom, these are the ones who are impacted most. Scalpers. Scalpers got to get in and out of trades very, very quickly. That is why I say scalping is the hardest thing to do when it comes to trading, because you're in and out of the stock in seconds, if not minutes, vice versa. It's very, very stressful. If you've seen the other, videos I did in the course about scalping, hey, it might fit your personality. Great if it does, but just understand you're going to be the one that suffers the most from decision fatigue. Okay. Day traders, obviously, we get in and out of the market, in and out for the end of the day, but there's a lot of things going on in the market, so you're gonna be faced with a lot of decision fatigue when it comes to day trading. And of course, new traders who are inexperienced, don't know what they are looking for, or don't know what they're doing, will become, a victim of decision fatigue, point blank, period. Every day in the chat room and stuff like that, I'm seeing you guys like, man, I don't know which stock to trade. I don't know what stock to trade because, of course, you're a new trader. You haven't narrowed down your process. You don't know what to look for. Oh, sorry. You don't know what to look for. And that's pretty much, the reality of the situation. So again, as a new trader, that's why I encourage you to, you know, limit the things you have to do on a day-to-day basis before you get in the market to, lower that decision fatigue so that things won't affect you. But you're going to be a victim of it. Sorry. It's just something you got to go through. And that just helps you learn about who you are as a person and as a trader. Because the more you're, faced with these decisions and you can review it and see what you did wrong and want to do, it just helps you become better. The less common victims of the decision fatigue are like swing traders and investors. Why? Because when they make their decision, they don't have to sit there and go back to it or revisit it for another week or two or couple months, couple quarters. You got time. So you're not having to think about that over and over again. You're not waiting for an immediate result. You're planning. You got time. Those things. So you don't really experience as much. And this is why it's much easier to start out as like an investor to get familiar with the market and then become a swing trader and get familiar with the market, and why pretty much going down to like a day trader and a scalper, it gets harder and harder because your decisions are going to be more rapid, more risky, and much more, difficult to manage. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, we're all victims of decision fatigue, but eliminating it as much as possible is going to be able to help you, do all that, and having that routine is just going to make things much easier. So like I said, eliminate as much as you can if you're going to be day trading. All right, so now we're going to talk about different ways to overcome decision fatigue. Okay, because there's a lot of different ways to kind of deal with it, but you want to try to make it as simple as possible. And some of the ways to do that, one of the main things I like to tell people to help combat that is you got to be okay with being wrong when it comes to making your decisions. The moment you can become a good loser, the better you're going to be able to be a good winner and a more consistent winner. Especially in the beginning, you're going to lose as a day trader. You might get lucky here and there, but You're going to be wrong more than you're going to be right. And then now that little, thing will start to click for you, and it'll start to compound month after month where you're getting much better with it. But being okay with being wrong is the main thing that you want to do. And we're going to talk more about that in the advanced course, and I'm going to show you guys how to do all that, good stuff, being okay with being wrong. So no problem. But yeah, so some of the things you should do, of course, you want to, like I said, minimum. All right, bada bing, bada boom, we are back. Let's get into it. So, a little bit about what I do, guys. Apart from the obvious, which of course is just, making trading decisions early before this decision fatigue sets in, a good way to overcome, the depletion of like our natural mental energies in trading. Um, you want to try to, have a whole plan set in place. And by plans, I mean that you won't have to make as many choices as you normally would. So therefore, just kind of doing that will just slow down the depletion of the mental energy because it's going to get depleted no matter what. But this is some of the things that I do. First and foremost, and I didn't realize this as a trader, I needed to know my limits. I needed to know how long can I last in the market without getting tired and tired of looking at my screen. And this is why you guys will see me trade all the way up to probably about 8 o'clock or so. Like I'm not going to sit around in the market all day, and I might come back power hour if it looks pretty decent to see if there's something to grab, and if it's not, I'm just going to leave. So knowing your limits is going to be if you know your limits, that's going to be like half the battle, to be honest with you. And this is why I limit my trades to 1 to 3 trades a day. You guys see me posting on Facebook, hey, this is my one trade today. This is all I did. That's it. And it's funny because starting out as a new trader, you're going to hate the PDT rule because you're going to think it's preventing you from making money. And yes, it is. But also, too, at the same time, it's kind of forcing you to be, controllable with your choices. So, yeah, that's why I limit my trades to 1 to 3 times a day, 1 to 3 trades a day. I'm not doing no more than that. 5 might be my most, but after that, I know I'm getting pure greedy. Now, again, for some of you that are like scalp traders, you're going to probably do more than that. And that's because your mental capacity can handle it, which is great for you. I can't. I can't. So, you know, that's like me, being a point guard trying to play center. I can't do that. I don't have the weight, man. Like, so stick to your strength. Know your limits. Um, know your time in the market. Like I said, I limit my time in the market. I'm not trading past 8 Pacific time, if I can help it, if there's nothing there. Um, so I do that. I limit that as far as like my time in the market. I'm gonna come in at pre-market, then I'm gonna just limit it to a couple hours in the regular hours. That's it. And then, of course, I like to limit my review time as well too. You don't want to spend all day just trying to review your trades, hoping that things would have got better and all that good stuff. But if reviewing your trades immediately and you're spending so much time in a day, you're gonna overlook something that you could have looked if you were well rested. You would see much easier for your next trade going in the future. So, like for example, if I made a trade today, and you know, I did X, Y, Z, but I'm not even noticing it. Then I leave it, I come back and review it at the end of the week. I'm like, oh, wait, you know what? I didn't notice that. This, and that. Limit my review time. I'm trying not to review my trades no more than maybe 30 minutes or so on the weekends when I'm done looking at everything over the week. So that's just a little bit of what I do. Knowing my limits, as you can see, is a big thing here. Limits, 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 limits. And that's going to help me make my decisions because I know what I can and what I can't do. And you as a trader and as an advanced trader, or just even as an intermediate trader, need to learn that. Okay? So let's take a quick second here. What we're going to do is we're going to look at an example here of decision fatigue, and I'm going to show you guys what I mean by this. So let me get this pulled up here real quick. All right, so let's load this up here. Let me just bring it over here to the screen and see if it pops up here. All right. So a common issue that we'll have with decision fatigue as advanced traders, of course, is just looking at different stocks throughout the day, right? So let's kind of walk through this here real quick. So this is a great example of like, today, because there was a lot of 100% gainers today. A lot, all right? You can see the timestamp and all that good stuff. If you guys want to go back and look at it. I mean, we had LSPR, 132% gainer, HCTI, 121% gainers, CJJD, 114% gainer, GAIN was 99% gains, HTGM, which I had on the watch list, is an 88% gainer. Quite a few of them, right? So You got to ask yourself, I mean, these alerts are going off day after day after day after day, right? Minute after minute, hour after hour. Do you know how much decision fatigue is going to kick in with that? Because look at this. I mean, when you're looking at these stocks, you're like, what do I trade? What do I do? What am I looking for, right? This is why it is important for you to have not only a trading strategy, but criteria in your trading strategy of what you're looking for. Your limits of when you're going to get into stock, your limits of when you get out of stock, limits of how many trades you're going to make today, et cetera, et cetera. All that stuff should be already ingrained in your brain and in your plan before you even step foot in this market. So imagine coming into the market, right? You got all six of these pulled up here and they're all going through. How do you know which ones you're going to profit off of? If you look at this, and for those of you who are watching this whenever you're watching this, which ones do you think I profited off of? So let's take a quick look here real quick. All right, so I had this on the watch list, HTMG. This is how it performed today. Sorry, it's not big. And this is why a lot of times you'll see traders with like multiple screen setups because they'll have screens like this where there's several different charts in there. Because not all of these charts, as you can see, are moving the same, right? They're all moving different. Some better than others. But this is all happening simultaneously. So imagine the thought process you got to go through. You got to look at this, look at that, look at that, look at this. But I can just, from being experienced in this, field for a while, I can just come out the gate, just tell like, I'm not going to look at that chart, I'm not going to look at that chart, I'm not going to look at that chart. But you're looking at all these simultaneously in real time, right? So just to go ahead and answer the question real quick, I can tell you which one I profited off of. And you guys can go back in the Facebook group and check that post that I put. But APVO is the one that I profit off of, and that was during pre-market. This didn't run till pre-market, this didn't run till after, none of these ran till after hours. And HTGM was on the watch list, but I didn't budge because it, didn't do much for me. I didn't get into the market like right at this time, so there was no point. Imagine looking at both of these at the same time. Which one are you going to get into? This is the pre-market chart for both of them. Now, why did I choose APVO? Because the point in time that I was entering was, when it was turning up, pretty obvious. And we're coming close to the power hour, so I'm like, hey, I can easily take profits. Easy for me. It fit my criteria, had a lot of volume pre-market. So if you see my little checklist, I'm going through hit my checklist. I'm not looking at HTGM. It's not much of a movement, not much, sense of change there, but also it didn't have too much volume. It had volume, but it wasn't like enough range in that volume, which you guys know was on my checklist that I look for. So I chose APVO and the decision was there. Didn't need to look at any of these because even though these were top percentage of the gainers of the day, these didn't happen until opening bell. So therefore, like I'm eliminating all these other decisions, all these other alerts, even though there was alerts of other things coming in, like other news, press releases happening, but those stocks weren't moving. So therefore, I'm not looking at them, which is good. So that has helped cutting out a lot of decision there. So now that I know that this is the stock that I'm looking at, my only decision from here is executing my strategy, right? And of course, I'm going to be looking at, it's not on this chart here, but you guys normally on my big chart on my main screen that I'm looking for when I'm in the trade. I have like the VWAP there. I have exponential moving averages, RSIs, oscillators, different things like that. So now I'm deciding which trade I'm gonna take at this point, measuring my risk, measuring my reward, and executing my strategy. You see how you quickly eliminated a lot of that stuff because I'm not waiting for this to run, deciding when to get into it. Then no, focusing on this trade only, and I'm going to execute it and stick with it. Even if there's other things running, I'm not worried about it. Focusing on that one trade. If it hits my stop loss, take it and get out. I'm okay with losing. I just made the wrong decision. The stock didn't play out to what I thought, and my risk management is taking care of that and keeping me in the game for my next trade. Simple. All right, so that's kind of how that breaks down. So yeah, you'll see a lot of times the alerts are going off. I'm typing it in, I'm pulling it up, looking at it. Now, let's just say, for example, like throughout the day, all of these ran kind of like at the same time. Look at this. This is the middle of the day. Now, Eric, you got this one's looking good, this one's looking good, this one's looking good. Which one would you decide to trade? Even this one's looking pretty decent. It's just grinding all the way up. Well, look at these charts. They're all different types of patterns you can play, right? They're all different levels of risk to reward. This is a $30 stock. This is a $6 stock. This is a $1 stock. This is a 50-cent stock. Guess what, guys? I don't like trading stocks under a dollar, right? So boom, I'm not looking at HTCI. This one's barely at a dollar, so I'm probably not going to look at GAME. Now it just leaves these two, right? CJD and then LSPR. We know I don't want to touch a stock that's over $20 yet. I mean, it's out of my range, right? So hey, that just leaves it with CJD. Now that I know that I'm going to look at this stock, let's just go ahead and focus on what are my entries and exits going to be? Where is it at on the RSI and the exponential moving average or relative strength, or where is it at on the MACD, et cetera, et cetera? Do I have a possibility to enter that trade? What is the price action looking like? Is the volume good? Is the stats where I need it to be at? Does the float look great? All this is hitting my checklist. Is it worth me to get into this stock? Is it moving? Any press releases out? You see how that stuff just kind of narrowed down? I just eliminated a lot of possibilities there and focused on that one just because it hit my checklist and my strategy. And that's what I'm doing day in and day out. The more you practice this and the more you get more confident in your strategy, the better you're going to be, guys. All right. So I hope this little lesson on decision fatigue kind of stresses the importance to you of how you need to, develop that process and take into account everything that I've talked about in this, in this whole thing. Don't trade while you're sick. That's going to affect your decisions. Make sure you're eating good, you're focused. You need that mental capacity there to be able to make these decisions. It's been times where I'll have 2 or 3 stocks hit that same criteria. They're all making the same criteria. Now I'm like, which one to get in, which one to get in. And that's going to come down to you as a trader deciding which one you like. You might like one catalyst more than the other. Might be different things like that, but understand that's just how the process works. Okay? All right, guys, I hope these extra minutes, helped you out here. If you have any questions, like I said, just message me. But other than that, move on to the next chapter, and we're going to get into some more stuff as an advanced day trader that you're going to need to work on. All right? Stay green.